What was supposed to be a relaxed night of laughter on the Graham Norton show slowly turned into something far more uncomfortable. Two global icons sat just a few feet apart, one known for a quiet conviction, the other for loud grievances. At first, it sounded like polite disagreement, then the jokes stopped landing. By the time the audience realized what was happening, the tension had already chosen a side, and before the night was over, one of them would walk out, not to applause, but to silence. The familiar purple lights of the Graham Norton show washed over the stage as the audience applauded enthusiastically. The couch, infamous for hosting laughter, confessions, and unexpected chaos, waited at center stage. Graham Norton stepped forward, beaming. "Welcome, welcome. Tonight we have an absolutely fascinating lineup," he said, pausing for effect. "An actress, activist, and author whose voice has shaped a generation. Emma Watson." The applause swelled, warm and sincere. Emma walked out with a modest smile, dressed elegantly but simply. She waved briefly, nodding to the audience before taking her seat. Her posture was relaxed, her presence calm, the kind of composure that didn't demand attention, but naturally drew it. And Graham continued, turning dramatically. "A man who needs no introduction. Prince Harry?" The reaction was louder, sharper, a mix of cheers, curiosity, and something else, anticipation. Harry entered confidently, almost theatrically. Dark suit, open collar, chin slightly lifted. He waved longer than necessary, soaking in the attention, before dropping onto the couch beside Emma with an easy grin that bordered on smug. From the outside, everything looked fine. Graham clapped his hands together. "Now, this is exciting. Two people who care deeply about social issues, activism, and let's be honest, making headlines." A ripple of laughter followed. Emma smiled politely. Harry smirked. Graham leaned forward. "Emma, you've been busy as ever. Activism, writing, speaking about equality. Do you ever get tired of being the serious one?" Emma laughed softly. "I think seriousness is often confused with sincerity," she said. "I just care about what I do." The audience nodded approvingly. Graham turned to Harry. "And you, Harry, activism has also become a huge part of your life. Do you see it the same way?" Harry shifted slightly, crossing one leg over the other. "Well," he began, "activism looks different when you're constantly under attack, when your intentions are questioned before your words are even heard." There it was, the familiar tone. Emma didn't react, not yet. Graham sensed it and chuckled. "Ah, already deep. I was hoping for at least one embarrassing childhood story first." Laughter eased the moment. But Harry continued anyway. "I just think," he said, glancing briefly toward Emma, "that some people get praised for saying the right things while others actually have to live them." The audience quieted just slightly. Emma turned her head, meeting Harry's gaze calmly. "I don't think a lived experience and thoughtful advocacy cancel each other out," she replied evenly. "They should inform one another, polite, measured, but firm." Harry raised an eyebrow. "Sure, but there's a difference between talking about systems and actually being crushed by them." Graham jumped in quickly. Now, let's not turn this into a suffering Olympics." Laughter again, but thinner this time. Emma folded her hands in her lap. "Suffering doesn't grant moral authority," she said gently. "Accountability does." The audience reacted, not loudly, but unmistakably. Harry let out a short laugh. "Easy to say when accountability doesn't follow you into every tabloid." Emma smiled, a small one, not amused, not angry. "Public scrutiny isn't oppression," she said. "It's a consequence of visibility. What matters is how responsibly you use that visibility." The couch felt suddenly smaller. Graham cleared his throat, attempting to lighten the mood. Well, on that cheerful note, Harry leaned forward, cutting him off. "I just find it interesting," Harry said, voice sharpening, "how some people position themselves as moral authorities without ever being forced to sacrifice anything." Emma turned fully toward him now. "I've sacrificed privacy, career momentum, and comfort to stand for what I believe in," she said calmly. "I just don't ask for applause when I do." The audience fell silent. Graham blinked, sensing the shift. "Right, okay, let's maybe." Harry smile. "D again." But this time it didn't reach his eyes. "Must be nice," he muttered, "to be applauded for restraint, while others are criticized for speaking their truth." Emma tilted her head slightly. "Truth doesn't need volume to be valid." A few gasps, a few murmurs. Graham laughed nervously. "Well, I did promise chaos, didn't I?" But the laughter didn't come. Harry leaned back, jaw tight, eyes fixed ahead. Emma remained composed, not victorious, not aggressive, just present. And for the first time that night, the audience understood something clearly. This wasn't a playful disagreement. This was a clash of values, and it had only just begun. The silence after Emma's last sentence didn't last long, but it changed the room. Graham Norton let out a theatrical chuckle. clapping his hands together a little too loudly. Well, I see tonight's show has chosen violence, he joked. A few laughs surfaced, hesitant and scattered. Harry smiled, but it was tight now, controlled. The kind of smile that wasn't meant to be friendly, only defensive. I think what Emma's doing, he said, turning slightly toward Graham instead of her, is intellectualizing something that's deeply personal. Emma didn't interrupt. She waited. Graham raised an eyebrow. That sounds like the start of a thesis. Harry leaned forward. When you grow up inside an institution that dictates your every move, your voice, your future, activism isn't theoretical. It's survival. A murmur rippled through the audience. Emma nodded slowly. I don't doubt your experience, she said. But pain doesn't excuse refusing responsibility. Harry's head snapped toward her. Responsibility to whom? He asked sharply. The same media that destroys people for sport. The same public that consumes trauma like entertainment. Graham jumped in quickly. To be fair, the public also bought tickets tonight. That earned a brief laugh, but the tension didn't loosen. Emma remained composed. Responsibility to the impact of your words, she said. Especially when millions listen, Harry scoffed. So now speaking honestly is dangerous. No, Emma replied calmly, speaking without reflection, as the audience reacted this time. A wave of approval, subtle but undeniable. Harry crossed his arms. You talk about reflection as if you haven't benefited from a system that rewards quiet compliance. Emma's expression didn't change, but something sharpened in her eyes. I've spent my career challenging systems, she said. The difference is I don't confuse visibility with virtue. A sharp inhale came from somewhere in the audience. Graham felt it slipping. He leaned back, forcing a grin. Okay, let's all take a breath before the couch files a restraining order. A few laughs, still thin. Harry leaned closer now, voice lower. You're very good at sounding reasonable, he said. It's a luxury. Emma met his gaze steadily, so it was being heard without shouting. That one landed. The room shifted, not explosively, but decisively. The audience wasn't laughing anymore. Re-listening, Harry shook his head. You see, this is exactly what I mean. People like you get framed as wise, while people like me get framed as unstable. Emma responded instantly. Framing isn't imposed, she said. It's built over time. Graham winced. Oof. Harry laughed sharply. So now I've built my own reputation. Emma nodded once. Yes. The audience reacted audibly now, gasps mixed with applause. Harry straightened, irritation bleeding into his tone. That's incredibly dismissive. No, Emma said softly. It's accountable. For the first time, Graham didn't joke. He just watched. Harry leaned back, running a hand through his hair. It's always fascinating how people who've never been silenced are so comfortable lecturing about voice. Emma didn't raise her voice. She didn't rush. I've been silenced, she said. I just chose not to make it my identity. That sentence hit harder than anything else so far. The applause was immediate, louder, unfiltered. Harry stared ahead, jaw clenched. Graham cleared his throat. Right. Before this turns into a philosophy symposium. Harry cut him off. No, let's finish this, he said. Because what Emma's implying is that speaking emotionally is somehow inferior. Emma shook her head slightly. I'm saying emotion without introspection becomes performance. The word performance hung in the air. Graham's smile vanished for a beat. Harry leaned forward again. Careful, he said. That sounds like a personal attack. Emma's tone didn't change. If it feels personal, maybe it is. The audience erupted, applause, murmurs, disbelief. Graham raised both hands. Okay. I officially regret putting you two on the same couch. Laughter returned, but the damage was done. Harry exhaled sharply, visibly frustrated now. The easy charm was gone. What remained was agitation. You know what bothers me most? He said. People love calm defiance because it doesn't threaten them. Emma responded without hesitation. Real defiance doesn't need chaos to be effective. Silence again. Harry looked at her, truly looked, for the first time that night. And in that moment, Graham realized something unsettling. Emma wasn't attacking Harry. She wasn't humiliating him. She was calmly dismantling his posture, sentence by sentence, and Harry knew it too. He shifted in his seat, eyes scanning the audience, sensing the room slipping away from him. Graham tried one last lifeline. Maybe we should talk about books. Everyone loves books. No one laughed. Harry leaned back, lips pressed tight. Emma folded her hands again, composed as ever, and the energy in the room made one thing clear. This conversation was no longer drifting. It was heading somewhere inevitable. And when it arrived, someone wasn't going to stay seated. Graham Norton tried to rescue the atmosphere the way he always did, with speed, charm, and humor sharp enough to cut through awkwardness. So he said brightly, leaning forward, Emma, new projects, new causes, saving the world as usual. Harry gave a short laugh, loud enough to interrupt. quiet enough to pretend it wasn't intentional. Emma's eyes flicked toward him. Graham paused, then continued anyway. And Harry, you've been traveling, speaking, doing charity work. Harry leaned back and muttered, charity, right? The audience didn't laugh. Graham's smile stiffened. Yes, charity. That thing most people do, without making it a personality trait. That earned a ripple of laughter. But Harry didn't soften. Instead, he leaned forward, turning his body slightly toward Emma in a way that looked casual but felt pointed. You talk about activism like it's clean, Harry said, like it's simple, but the world is uglier than slogans. Emma nodded once calmly. Agreed. Harry blinked as if he expected resistance. Then why do you sound like you've got all the answers? Emma's voice stayed even. Because I've learned to ask better questions. Graham tried to jump in. That sounds like something that should be on a tote bag. Emma smiled politely. Harry didn't. You know what's funny? Harry said, eyes narrowing. When I speak, I'm called dramatic. When you speak, you're called brave. Emma didn't flinch. That's not about you and me, she said. That's about how you deliver your message. Harry's jaw tightened. Oh, here we go. Delivery tips. It's not tips, Emma replied. It's accountability, the word again. The same word that kept landing like a weight on Harry's chest. He exhaled sharply through his nose. You keep using those. At word like it's a weapon. Emma's gaze was steady. No, I'm using it like it matters. The audience murmured quiet approval. Real approval, not the polite kind. Harry's smile returned, but it didn't reach his eyes. Must be nice, he said, tone-coded in sarcasm. To speak about feminism from a safe place. Graham inhaled, sensing danger. Okay. I'm just going to... Emma spoke before he could. Not loudly, not aggressively, but with a firmness that cut through the studio. Feminism isn't a safe place, she said. It's the decision to stay in the room when people try to turn your voice into a punchline. The audience reacted instantly, applause swelling, not explosive, but steady, like agreement becoming momentum. Harry stared at her. Graham tried to laugh. Well, that's I feel like I should stand up for that. But no one laughed this time. The applause wasn't about humor, it was about truth. Harry shifted, irritation now obvious. Are you implying I'm turning your voice into a joke? Emma's eyes remained calm. I'm saying you're trying to win with tone instead of substance. Harry's posture stiffened. Substance, he repeated. I gave up everything. Emma's expression softened just slightly. Not pity, not admiration, understanding. But it lasted only a second. Lasted. People give up things every day, she said. The difference is most of them don't demand gratitude for it. The studio went quiet. Harry's face flushed. You have no idea what I've endured. Emma didn't blink. Endurance isn't entitled. Meant. Graham's eyes widened. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Even he didn't know where to interrupt without making it worse. Harry leaned forward, voice sharper now. You're very comfortable dismissing a man's trauma. Emma's head tilted. I'm not dismissing trauma, she said. I'm dismissing the idea that trauma gives you permission to talk down to people. That line landed like a slap. Not loud, not dramatic. Clean. A sharp gasp rose from the audience. Harry laughed again, but this time it sounded brittle. Talk down to people. I'm not talking down. I'm telling you the world isn't your classroom. Emma's eyes sharpened, still calm, but now unmistakably firm. And you're not the only person who's lived through pressure, she said. You're just one of the few who keeps trying to turn it into authority. Graham finally stepped in, both hands up. All right, let's pivot. Harry ignored him. You know what I think, he said, turning toward the crowd briefly, feeding off their attention the way he always did. I think people like Emma get to be symbols, and symbols don't get questioned. Emma's smile was faint, almost sad. Symbols get questioned constantly, she said. We just don't throw tantrums when it happens. The audience audibly reacted. Some laughter, some shocked sounds, then applause that grew quickly. Harry's eyes widened. Graham's voice got tighter. Okay, we're going to keep it civil. But Harry was past civil now. His voice rose half a notch, enough to change the temperature. So now I'm having a tantrum. Emma didn't move. You're escalating because you're losing control of the narrative. That was it. That was the sentence that sliced through him. Harry's mouth opened, then closed. His eyes flicked to Graham, then back to Emma. You don't get to diagnose me, he said through clenched teeth. Emma's tone didn't change. I'm not diagnosing you, she replied. I'm describing what everyone can see. The couch felt like a stage for something more than television now. A courtroom without a judge. Graham leaned forward, voice urgent, friendly, pleading. Harry, Emma, let's not. Harry's stare locked onto Emma, sharp and offended. You're enjoying this, he said quietly. You're enjoying making me look bad. Emma's expression cooled. not angry but resolved. No, she said. I'm enjoying the fact that, for once, a woman doesn't have to soften her truth to protect a man's ego. The studio froze. It wasn't shouted. It wasn't theatrical. It was delivered like a principle. The audience erupted, louder than any applause so far, a mix of shock and approval, the kind that made even producers behind the cameras exchange panicked looks. Harry sat back as if physically hit. Graham's smile was gone now. For a moment, Harry said nothing. Then he leaned forward slowly, voice low. Controlled, dangerously controlled, careful, he said. That's exactly the kind of rhetoric that divides people. Emma's reply was immediate. It only feels divisive when it stops being fighting you. Silence. Pure, brutal silence. Graham swallowed. We're going to take a break, he said quickly. Too quickly. But even as he said it, everyone knew the truth. They didn't need a break. They needed an exit. And one of them was already close to standing up. The studio lights felt harsher now, not brighter, heavier. Graham Norton shifted in his seat. Hands clasped together, his usual playful energy replaced by something closer to concern. He glanced briefly toward the producers, then back at the couch, where the tension had hardened into something brittle. Okay, he said carefully, let's pause. We're not here to win debates. We're here to talk. Harry let out a short, humorless laugh. Talk. He said, this stopped being a conversation the moment I was turned into a case study. Emma didn't react. She didn't sigh. She didn't roll her eyes. She simply waited the way someone does when they know the other person is talking themselves into a corner. Graham leaned forward. Harry, no one is attacking you. Harry turned to him sharply. Then stop letting her frame me. Emma finally spoke, her voice calm but unmistakably firm. I'm not framing you, she said. I'm responding to what you choose to project. The audience murmured. Harry shook his head, incredulous. Unbelievable. You sit there wrapped in moral language, acting like you're above this. Emma met his gaze. I'm not above this, she said. I'm just not threatened by it. That line didn't explode. It landed. Harry's jaw tightened. You think this makes you strong? Emma answered without hesitation. No, I think listening makes people strong. Harry stood up. Not fully at first, just enough for the audience to notice. A shift. A scrape of fabric against the couch. A warning. Graham's voice sharpened. Harry. Harry raised a hand, cutting him off. No, he said, I'm done being spoken over by people who think composure equals wisdom. Emma remained seated, posture relaxed, eyes steady. Composure isn't wisdom, she said. It's discipline. The audience gasped softly. Harry laughed again, louder now, brittle. Of course, another lesson. Emma's voice softened, not in pity, but in clarity. This isn't a lesson, she said. It's an observation. Harry straightened fully now, standing over the conversation like he needed height to regain authority. You know what this really is, he said. This is what happens when men are no longer allowed to speak without being dissected. Emma didn't raise her voice. This is what happens, she replied. When women stop cushioning their honesty, applause broke out, real, unrestrained. Graham stood halfway, hands raised. Okay, let's. Harry shook his head, eyes flashing. No, I'm not staying for this. Emma finally leaned forward slightly. Before you go, she said quietly. Harry turned toward her, irritated. What? She looked up at him, calm as ever. You keep saying you want to be heard, she said. But tonight you never once tried to understand. The room froze. Harry stared at her for a second. Just a second. Something flickered behind his eyes. Frustration, realization, or maybe just anger. Then his face hardened. I don't know understanding to people who judge me, he snapped. Emma nodded once. Then don't ask the world for empathy. That was it. Harry grabbed his jacket from the back of the couch, movements sharp, impatient. He turned toward Graham, then toward the audience. This is exactly why these conversations are pointless, he said. You come here expecting a villain. Graham's voice was cool,